All right, what's good, y'all, man? Time to talk about the top 10 quarterbacks per Mel Kiper hitting the NFL draft, man. Very intriguing list he has put together here. Now, I will say this. I do think outside of this top three here, there are a lot of question marks at the quarterback position, right? Now, I know y'all going to come for me in the comments about Jackson Dart and everything he's accomplished. He's setting school records, right? And I've always come for him and said, hey, he has not won the big game, in my opinion. Right? But I think when we look at him mechanically, at what he can do, I think he checks a lot of boxes. You know what I'm saying? Played in the SEC for years, led his team again. I think they had a 10-win season during his career there. Had another decent season this year. Should have went further, in my humble opinion, with that roster they put together and them receivers that they had, right? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, had Caden Lee, Trey Harris. Should have did better. I don't disagree with y'all. But I think mechanically, what you look like, he looks like he has some of the most upside of this class, you know what I'm saying, when you look at it. So outside that top three, it's interesting. So before we break down that top three, I just talked about Dart. Let's talk about the bottom. Now, look, Jalen Milroe, I already told y'all. Now, he's the number 4 quarterback, according to Mel Kiper. I think he's a project coming into the NFL draft. I talked about that in my other video. Y'all go check that out on the TikTok and YouTube. I just think he has to improve a lot before he can be ready, right? Accuracy issues, right? Completing under 50% of his passes. Like, that's something you got to work on. He's a phenomenal runner, though. Like I said, like Jalen Milroe can run that rock, but he's going to have to prove that short and intermediate part of his game when he's throwing that football, right? Really good. And again, I think he's one of the best deep ball throwers we have in the sport. You know what I'm saying? Which is huge. But at the same time, he's going to have to do better, again, with completing some of those easy routes, because you're not going to always be able to go deep down the field. We seen it last night with that Pittsburgh Steelers front against Joe Burrow, right? They know how good of a quarterback he is. They were blitzing him. They was giving him 2 seconds, 2.3 seconds to throw the football, right? He had to get rid of it quick. You know what I'm saying? So in that instance, you got to take the check down reads. You got to take the short and intermediate reads and be comfortable throwing in those tight windows. And that's what Burrow had to do last night. So I think Milroe has upside, but at the same time, I think he's a developmental project as well. Next up, Carson, Beck, same kind of a thing. I think he's showing flashes of what he can do. It's the inconsistency. So he's going to have to prove the consistency of what he can do, right? Now, this season was not his best season, right? But he showed some flash in some games, right? Georgia Tech, he played pretty well. Showed what he could do in that one. You know what I'm saying? There's several games this season where he's performed well and other games where he's not. Now, to put it into context, right, did not have the best running game, right? Last few years, Georgia's struggled running the football from what we know, right? It's low-key running back you right now, but they've been struggling in that department the last few seasons. Nonetheless, I think he's shown some different things that he can do, you know what I'm saying? But I think at the same time, you know what I'm saying, he has things he has to improve as well. Cleaning up the turnovers, right? The costly mistakes, fumbling the football, right? It's a lot he's going to have to improve of his game if he really wants to be a competent starter in the NFL. So same thing with him, I think a project. All right, next up, Quinn Ewers. I know a lot of people say either he's going to hit the portal or he's going to go to the NFL. Now, he's having a good run. You can add more to your resume if you can go and beat a really good Ohio State team that everybody has as the best team in college football right now, right? Now, it's not going to be easy, but I thought late in that game, he showed a clutch gene, right? And that's one thing you want to see from your quarterback. Game on the line, you're struggling offensively, you don't have no running game, it's all on you, right? And that is what Quinn Ewers showed in that game. A lot of that stuff was on him, and he came up, he delivered. Throws to Matthew Golden, right? Throws to his true freshman receiver, Ryan Wingo, right? Throws the Gunnar Helm overtime touchdown. Like, he did what he was supposed to do in that moment when he didn't get a lot of help. Now, I'm not talking about defensively. Defensively, I thought they played pretty well. But offensively, didn't get a lot of help as far as the running game and things like that. There was a lot of pressure on him. I thought he did what he was supposed to do. So I think his stock is going to continue to rise if he can continue to deliver for the Longhorns, you know what I'm saying, and potentially even upset Ohio State. Now, another quarterback that's on a hot streak right now, we're going to see these two. Like I said, they're going against each other. Will Howard, the last few weeks, man, he's been spectacular. Now, he struggled against Michigan, but when you go look at the playoff games and how he's played against Tennessee, right, how he's played against Oregon. Oregon was the number 1 team in the country, right? One of the better defenses that we've seen this year. And he shredded that defense. Now, everybody can say, oh, was it Jeremiah Smith show? Look, Jeremiah Smith went off. 7 catches, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But at the same time, he was still delivering those throws across the middle of the field. Wasn't just looking at Smith, was hitting Abuka, was hitting several other receivers as well. So, for Will Howard, same kind of thing. He can continue to progress and show, hey, I can make those throws. I can be that quarterback you depend on in big game situations. He can also elevate his stock. So those two, I would say right now, maybe projects, but still have a lot of room to grow. But I think these playoff runs for them could really help going forward. All right, next up, I want to give credit to Curtis Roque. Man, he played what they said he played with a torn ACL this year. Again, that's per multiple reports. I have not reported. I'm just reacting to what I saw. But I thought he did a pretty good job with Indiana. They don't have like a staple number 1 wide receiver. They have some good players, But when I say stable number one, I'm talking about like top end, top 5 in the country, right? They don't have that. And I thought he did what he could. Had that knee brace all year, led them to the college football playoff. I thought he had a pretty good season for the Hoosiers, you know what I'm saying? So I think still remains to be seen what he can do. Riley Leonard, definitely a project. I love his dual threat ability, though. You know what I'm saying? Rushed for 80 yards in that win against Georgia. But the question is him throwing the ball. Now, they don't have the best weapons at Notre Dame, right? Bo Collins is pretty good. They got some players. But, you know, you want to see him take that next step and elevate an offense. I don't know if Riley Leonard can do that. One thing I do know, he has character, he has grit, and he's a tough SOB. You know what I'm saying? That is what Riley Leonard is. You know what I'm saying? So, bringing that into your room, you feel pretty good about that. And let him learn for a couple of years. I think that's what Riley Leonard is. I think he can go be behind somebody, be a QB3, you know what I'm saying, maybe even a QB2, and just work his way up and learn and learn and learn. That's what I think his kind of arc is. Tyler Show, I've never been really high on him. A lot of injuries over the course of his career. Had a pretty good year at Louisville, but still at the same time, I mean, it's so much risk there with the injuries and just never been healthy enough for a full season. Did this year, but I still have kind of these questions on him. All right, now let's go to the nitty-gritty, the top. Shedeur Sanders, I think unequivocally is the best quarterback in this draft. I mean, he's just a great thrower of the football, man. I mean, he can make any throw, middle, deep half, hash, check downs. Like, he's the best quarterback. Only thing he has to work on is not holding the football for so long, right? That's one thing he has to work on doing and being able to take what the defense gives and get rid of it quick. Because you're not going to be able to outflank and outrun NFL defenders, bro. And there's nothing wrong. Like, his game is different, right? Shedeur is more so a pocket passer. Can he run? Yes. Can he buy time and make moves? Yes. But that's not like a stable part of his game. Now, he can do it, but I think he's one of those modern, or I say old school type pocket passing type quarterbacks. So that's what you're really getting in Shedeur. A lot of upside. Showed you how you could play in big games. And I know like everybody says Travis, he shred that football, man. Had LaJohntay Wester. He was throwing the football too. Jimmy Horn. Several other guys that were really good this past year. It wasn't just Travis. Like, he threw to Travis, but it wasn't just him. So I think he has a good upside as well. Now, Cam Ward, everybody came for him based off him sitting off the second half of that game that they had, obviously, you know, in against Iowa State. And I get it. I get both sides. I get for him, like, hey, let me protect myself. I'm finna go to the NFL draft. I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. But at the same time, man, your teammate, you know, they went out there for you and helped you get that record. You should return the favor as well. So I do get both sides of the coin. Nonetheless, he is a very talented quarterback. The problem with Miami, and I think they fired their DC, they couldn't stop nobody. You know what I'm saying? That's not a reflection of Cam Ward. Cam Ward did the best he could with what he had. And I thought offensively that was a potent offense, right? Elijah Arroyo, when you look at, some of the guys, Isaiah Horton, when you look at, some of the guys that they got at the receiver spot, I thought he did with what he could. And he made this team special. And he could have led them, as most people have been coming for him, to one of the best seasons of Miami, I think, since 2005. But at the same time, he did everything he was supposed to do. And I think he's probably the second best quarterback. And we can make the argument the top quarterback in this draft, right? It's going to be having him continue to buy in. But I think he's one of those guys, maybe out of these three, that can come in and start. You know what I'm saying? That would be my three. Jackson Dart, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. I think that they can come in and potentially start in the NFL. Not having success, that's a different thing. The most recent examples right now, Jaden Daniels, obviously right now, and Bo Nix. You know what I'm saying? But I do think two of those guys out of this list can have that same type of a season if they're put in the right situation, in the right scenario, and they build talent around him. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to be interesting to see. I think a pretty good list overall of how he ranked it. I might move Quinn Ewers up. I know Carson Beck has beaten him. You know what I'm saying? Or Will Howard, depending on how this playoff goes. I might move them up or down. You know what I'm saying? And Jalen Milroe just seems like a little bit more of a project. So I might move him down to like 6 if I had to change it, man. But that's my thoughts. That's my reaction to his top 10 quarterbacks. I think a pretty good list overall. But comment down below. What do you guys think?